Welcome to the Main Street Business Insight Podcast,
featuring the stories of America's downtown and neighborhood entrepreneurs.
There's so much about being a Main Street business that is intertwined with what it means to be part of a community.
The impact that it has on creating jobs, occupying vacant storefronts, improving the quality of life, like this is a big deal.
What advice would you give to other Main Street businesses?
Investing in yourself is the most important thing that you can do.
What was that experience like for you to reach out and, learn from others?
Any entrepreneur getting into business, I highly recommend find the people that you trust that'll tell you the thing you may or may not want to hear when you need to hear it, and who will stand by you in helping to solve your challenges.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Main Street Business Insight Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Innovation Officer at Main Street America. And in 2024, according to IBISWorld stats, there were 223 perfume and fragrance manufacturing businesses in the US, with an overall global fragrance market. Now, this stat is including some retail components that totaled more than $60 billion. So a big market overall. But one might be surprised to learn that, in fact, one of those businesses exists right on Main Street in Ukiah, California. So today's show features Rachel Latimer, owner and founder of DANE Fragrance, a retail and wholesaler of perfumes and fragrances. And I had a chance to meet Rachel primarily because we're doing this USDA project in California, and my great colleague, Gustavo Esteras, who heads up our small business and entrepreneurial support area, said, you got to go talk with Rachel. And it's just a very, very cool business, and I was not let down by any means. So as we seek to examine more and more of all these amazing, unique, small-scale producers along our main streets, I found my conversation with Rachel really illuminated some unique insights on what can be that struggle between having to support, maintain, and even scale a business that has both a B2B and a B2C when it comes to revenue streams. And I think you're really going to love hearing Rachel's particular take on trends, especially being someone that loves trends. But I don't want to give away too much, so let's get to it. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Main Street Business Insight Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, and I'm here in downtown Main Street, Ukiah, California, with my new friend, Rachel Latimer, the owner of DANE Fragrance. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you.
It's so good that I was going to say it's so good to have you here, but I'm actually in your spot.
Thank you for being here.
There you go. There you go. I wish everyone could be here, but if not, come to is this technically Northern California? Yeah. Okay. So I can say that. Come to Northern California, come to Ukiah, come to DANE Fragrance. It's a really cool place. And we're going to create a new feature called the scent booth, I think. Is that what we're going to call this? The scent booth? Yes. I'm trying to trademark a new thing with Rachel here. All right. Enough about me. Enough about my travels. We're going to go to Rachel here because, as you all know, we like to start out with the journey. We like to hear the story of these wonderful makers and creators and, Main Street business owners. And so, Rachel, why don't you kick us off with, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so it's two companies, but how it started is it was an idea of a fragrance line. Just a fragrance line.
As a child?
No. Well, actually, when I was a child, I was concocting things, unbeknownst to myself, this would be my career, but doing it on top of my mother's furniture.
Oh my, okay.
And ruining it, vintage furniture. But no, I worked for another laboratory. I worked with them for a decade. And I was their perfumer. I led their education, and what I wanted to do, since I had the knowledge and the skills and the tools, I wanted to create a fragrance line. Just that. But as things shifted, it sort of morphed into what it is today. And I left, I parted with that company, I resigned, and sort of went full force with this. And it turned into now a retail space with education and also the laboratory.
Wow. So, you know, stepping back a little bit, obviously you had at an early age, you had gotten into the creation business of putting chemistry projects together, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And this became part of your overall career. But how did you think about this as a business? Did you have any background in starting a business or business knowledge? Like, where did you garner this?
Yes and no. I had, prior to this, I had small companies that really didn't go anywhere. They were just quick startups and then quick fails.
So you had launched some other things in the past.
Yeah, completely different.
Okay.
I had, way back in the day, I had a body painting business. And then I also did a food truck.
Oh,
But it wasn't.
quite the diversity.
It was, yeah, kind of all over the place. But this is my career. I fell in love with it. I have a passion for it. It sort of was happenstance how it came into my hands, and it stayed.
Yeah. Now you're born and raised in California, from what I understand, and but how'd you get to Ukiah? You're not
Ukiah.
from here originally,
Oh, no.
right?
No, I moved from Oakland. I'm from the Bay Area, born and raised in the Bay Area. And my folks, they have a home about 25 minutes from here. It's Blue Lakes. And their health was on the decline, both
Okay.
of them. And so instead of doing the 2-hour travel whenever there was an emergency, I moved up here. And pricing was better as well.
Yes, yes, I can
Much
imagine.
more affordable than Bay Area prices. And I stayed. So the first year was a challenge for me. And then in the second year, I decided to open the storefront.
Okay.
Well,
So you were doing some product mixing before
oh yeah,
and like
Yeah.
selling out of home or what have you, or
Strictly
just
e-commerce.
online e-commerce?
yeah, e-commerce, and that was great.
Okay.
That was fantastic. I didn't have the overhead of a storefront. It worked out well. And when I moved here, I saw an opportunity. I saw that they needed an activity. We have lush, trails,
Yeah.
but there's not as many things to do within town,
Okay.
especially things that don't involve alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. But you are kind of in wine country, at least on the fringes of wine country, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So tell me a little bit about you've got two business components here. And for the audience, Rachel's got a business to consumer. Obviously we're in the store, but you can see if you're watching the video cast portion of this really cool laboratory inside the store. I think that's what's fascinating about small scale producers on Main Street is that you can come in and shop, but you can also like watch someone making something that I guess at L'Oreal you probably couldn't watch or some
No.
other fragrance. This is the extent of my knowledge on the fragrance side, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's the artisan aspect about it. And we have these large windows out front so people walking by can see what's happening in the lab when we're blending, sort of see that process.
Okay, super cool. So how did you structure from a business perspective the retail and then the sort of B2B or wholesaling business that you do? How do you keep those things sort of separate and focus on both of them?
Yeah, well, when I first started, when it was strictly the fragrance line, it then morphed into the formulation side, and they were joined together. They were two in the same.
Okay.
And that became really tricky for me. So then I had to separate them. And in doing that, it made life a little bit easier, especially when doing taxes.
Okay. Okay. So like legal structure and accounting wise, it was pretty difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But with retail, for the most part, it is what it is. The product is there, and I don't have to do much upkeep. But with the laboratory, it is continual working on projects.
Yeah. And how do you, from a marketing perspective, it's almost, I don't know if you have to like kind of switch your brain, because it's totally different to market to a retail consumer versus another business that's looking for you to make a fragrance, a scent, or what have you as part of their product mix. So how do you kind of keep those things straight and reach out to those customers?
With like social media, it's all one thing, one Instagram page or Facebook page.
Okay.
And
You're not distinct with those.
No, it's sort of, we try and portray exactly who we are. And that comes in forms of media on our artwork, or what we're working on, or what's in our store. It's just all compiled into one because we are under the same house.
Yeah. Okay. When you think about, there's probably not a lot of fragrance businesses, I suspect, on main streets, which is what really like thrilled me about being able to talk with you, because I think it's so unique, and there's this like really cool aspect to the business. But when you think about your brand, what makes you value added within sort of a very, I suspect, competitive marketplace, what's distinctual about DANE Fragrance? Like, how do you position what makes you different?
Our attitude. Well, so the US has not had regulations in fragrance.
Really?
Ever. So this year, next year, they're really going full-fledged and changing that. So to this day, DANE has always been up to code, up to regulation. We have all the certifications.
Okay.
You know that what we're developing is safe for your skincare, your shampoo, whatever you're putting on your face, your body. We have that.
That sounds pretty key.
Yeah.
Especially in an unregulated market.
But that's
whatever
gonna
I'm
be
putting.
changing.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the challenge part of it. I suspect either in the B2B or B2C component that there are challenges in any sort of product-based business, especially one where you're trying to juggle retail, e-commerce, manufacturing. How do you think about those challenges, and where do you go for solutions?
Good question. Everything is a challenge. But I would say the economy is one of the largest challenges in location, because it is a small town. The foot traffic isn't necessarily there.
Yeah.
And what I have learned, though, is I told you about the workshops. So we hold educational workshops, and that's picking up. And that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's why I started this here,
Yeah.
because I wanted people to have something to do. So economy is a challenge. I would say,
Can we
everything.
stick with that point just for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Is that something that you feel is relatively new? Is it just you're seeing consumer spending going down? When you say economy, how does that impact your business?
Yeah. People don't want to spend the money.
Okay.
Especially for a luxury product or experience. I don't know. They're leaning more towards the experience versus the product.
Okay.
I think at least within what I do, people want to spend $25 and leave smelling like a cupcake, not $45 or more, $120.
Yes.
And smell like art.
Okay. That seems to be part of the positioning in the brand, cupcake versus art.
I'm trying to balance the two. I'm actually working on one right now that can be a little more commercial smelling, but still have this unique aspect to it.
Okay. How do you, sort of sticking with that kind of theme, I suspect that, and this is a pure assumption on my part, but I think about this in terms of like apparel and other things that are very particular to an individual. Is this a very sort of trend or fad kind of led business? I mean, do things fluctuate a lot in terms of like what's hot, what's not?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you stay on top of that?
I don't, because I don't. I do not care what the trend is.
That is awesome.
We get reports. Actually, there's one to your left underneath that book. That gives you the trend report for the following year. And you get to see, well, what are the colors? What's everybody going to be into? Because you're being told what you're going to be into. So I stay clear of that. I don't care, because what I am and what I feel is represented in my work, not what somebody told me to feel.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think, no, seriously, I think that's a good like learning lesson for a lot of businesses. I suspect that it would be quite challenging to kind of just chase trends all the time.
Well, it's probably smarter of them to do it, because that's where it's going to lead them to, some profit. But it's not me.
Yeah, you're just being your authentic self and what you believe in, and then that attracts customers on their own. Like, okay, she's different.
Yeah, that's my market.
Yeah. It's also, it seems like it's part of your brand identity in many respects. Okay. We're in a small town,
yes,
and a lot of businesses in small towns around the country. When you're coming up against a challenge, who do you turn to? What's the network like?
Yeah. I turned to the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Goodness gracious, they welcomed me with open arms. Unbelievable how kind and welcoming this town was. Is. So the Chamber of Commerce. There's also West Business Center, but I lean more heavily on the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. All right. And then did you feel as a business owner when you first, opened and you were running your B2B and B2C, were there specific aspects of the business where you felt, oh my gosh, this is not something I've ever done before, whether it was on the finance or legal parts of it? Like, how did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah, not one. So when I started the company, I had a partner, and my role was perfumer, founder. I did all the developing and the creative stuff, and the partner did all of the stuff I don't know and I don't like. That's marketing, taxes, everything that didn't involve working at the workbench. That's what they did. And so when that sort of, I'm not going to say fell apart, just drifted apart, I took on that role, and my goodness gracious, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is, you're not knee deep, you're this deep in everything. So you have to take it one by one and make a list.
Make a list. I think you have a board back there.
I do. Two boards.
The list is getting longer back there, folks.
It's not a sheet of paper; they are boards.
I know we had a conversation a couple of weeks back when we first started chatting, and you spoke to it a little bit here on the show already about some of the challenges of a retail store, especially perhaps in a smaller market, and in a business that's not like a coffee shop where people are buying it every day. And I wonder how you think about the retail and the role it plays in your business, because obviously it's not the most profitable side of the business. So like, what's the role of retail?
Yeah, well, the role was to sell. But as what I found is, yes, because I'm in a small town, those sales aren't there. It's incredibly challenging just to make rent for the retail space, because we don't make that. I'll be quite honest, we do not make that in sales.
It's happening right here behind me, folks.
Yeah, so the laboratory is what carries everything. But the retail space, we're actually in this right now. We sort of have to make a decision. And what I think is the right move to do is get wholesale accounts. Yeah. And get our product in other locations worldwide and go from there.
So instead of, or in addition to your B2B, where you're in essence selling fragrances that are going in other products, start using your commercial branded products, but in other places, other retail outlets, which then will sort of serve the consumer side of the business. Very smart. Very smart. And it sounds like the other kind of revenue stream that you've begun to pursue is the education, the sort of like hands-on experiential part. Could you talk a little bit about that, the kind of things that you're doing?
Yeah. So people love the workshops. We offer, from beginner to advanced. Most times people do the beginner. It's something really fun to do. You work with easy to use ingredients. You have about 15 of them, and you construct on site a fragrance with guidance, and you go home with something that you made yourself.
That is excellent. And who comes in and does that? Like,
there's not really, the age range is from 10 to 85.
Super cool. So you could have a kid's birthday party in here.
Yes.
Kids are making fragrances.
Yeah, absolutely.
And colognes and everything else. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. When you think about where the opportunity is for this business, as you kind of like look ahead, what are the goals that you have?
Goals, well, the wholesale accounts, interactive art pieces. I would like to, what are my goals? I want a team. I want to build a big team. I want someone to take over retail.
In the accounting.
Yeah. Actually, I found a really good accountant, so I'm happy about that.
Okay.
Affordable too. But I want to take on marketing. Do a fair amount myself, but it's really not my forte.
Yeah.
Especially to get eye-catching ads. I'm okay, but I want good. I want to work on that.
Yeah. I would encourage folks to go to Rachel's website. I found, like, from a brand perspective, it was one of the coolest websites because I think check it out. The address, DANEFragrance.com.
Oh, yeah. DANEFragrance.com. And that's for the retail. For the laboratory, it would be DANELabs.com.
Okay. And we'll put all of that in the show notes, of course. But I think for other business owners out there, when you're thinking about your web presence, because for us, as you know, if you've seen any of our stuff, we talk about bricks and clicks all the time. We think, they work hand in hand together. They can be each entryway points into the business. But I think the web presence really can accentuate, because you can actually sort of produce your brand identity. And I just felt like you did a masterful job at your personal brand. But you gotta, obviously I can't showcase that here, but please check out the website because it's super cool. And so I think part of that is what you hinted at in the last piece here, where you were talking about like art installations.
Oh, yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? I don't know if I
I'd love to.
understand the connection. I think this would be interesting.
Yeah. It's artwork that people can interact with, that the public can interact with. And in my realm, that would be scent and sculptures or anything really. Wish we could show you the scent box.
We're going to take a photo of that, folks. And we'll put that in the show notes as well so they can see it.
So that scent box would be on the smaller scale of things, but it gives you an idea. I would love to, well, actually, I don't want to give away my secret.
You don't have to give away everything, but it's artwork that it sounds like it's interactive.
Yeah,
in many ways are experiential.
An example would be a sculpture that's scented, and it could be placed anywhere, and you walk up and you can smell it, but it also scents your surroundings. Or it could be something that you have to literally interact with. Maybe it's a piano, you play some keys and the scent comes out.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that would be something to see. All right, I'm coming back. Let's talk a little bit about how you balance because obviously you're very creative, and there's that sort of side of the brain. Yeah. But then, as we talked about before, there is the sort of the nuts and bolts of running the business. How do you, from a time perspective, with your life, like how do you balance these things? You've got enough time. I mean, you are in definitely like a creative business, but you know, you got to pay bills, you got to do all this other stuff.
Luckily, the creative part pays my bills. When I get to formulate, even though it's somebody else's concept, this is DANE Labs when a company, a client will ask me to develop something for their brand, be it shampoo, conditioner, bug spray, chapstick. They present me with a concept. And though it has a number of words describing what they want, these words can be literally anything. There are so many outcomes to these words. And that's where my creativity comes in.
Okay.
And my skill. And so creativity in the laboratory, and then creativity in my products. In my products, I can make what I want, how I feel, and
Whatever inspires you for that moment.
yeah. And when it comes down to all the other stuff, bills, whatnot, everything has a deadline. So you just meet them.
Is this something where you have, like, again, I'm thinking more like the tactical nuts and bolts aspects of your business. Do you, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you just find a time that you've got to set aside and you just, okay, I'm going to run through this? Or, you know, how do you work that part of your business?
Yeah, trying to set aside time, or when time presents itself. It's sort of a toss-up. Sometimes it's busy, it's nonstop, go, 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 go. And then sometimes you'll have an entire week where there's just this lull. Or it could be a month, a lull in at least laboratory work. Maybe the holidays have just passed, everyone is done. That's when you can take time to do other projects. Well, where am I lacking, and what am I needing to catch up on?
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that I was most curious about, given your line of business, because it's fairly unique, especially along a main street. And I wonder, you know, how do you get discovered? Because I mean, fragrance is a big business, it's, you know, global billions of dollars. And how do they find out about DANE Fragrance on the manufacturing B2B side?
Yeah. So I work with, most of my clients come from the cosmetic chemist that I work with. He'll sort of send his clients over my way. But I'm also on an open source with the Institute for Art and Olfaction, which is based down in LA. Actually, okay. I was just there last week for the awards and the scent fair, week-long scent fair. And I guess just Google searches or word of mouth.
Yeah. Okay. And by reputation and everything else, people find out and discover. And okay.
Yeah. Right. And it's my laboratory isn't always everyone's cup of tea. So there.
What do you mean by that?
Some people are looking for something different or a different style.
Okay. All right. And from that perspective, that's really based on the creator themselves, right? Okay. Yeah. And then from a retail perspective, as you think about your retail brand, which I have a little bit of this right here. Can you see this? Yes.
Oh, this is actually, this is one and only. This is the Ukiah destination scent.
That's awesome.
So I gave a proposal to the city to create a destination scent for Ukiah. So now they are the first. They
have their own scent.
Yeah.
This is like a first, probably, right?
It is, yeah. And so going to go down the line and try and hopefully this is the plan. Because Ukiah has a welcome center right across the street from us. I'd like to go to each town or city that has a welcome center and give them the same thing. And then it can be a keepsake for all the tourists. That
Love it. That's wonderful. Well, sort of staying on that front, because there are a lot of other like brand creators in different industries that are trying to create their own brand. Is there sort of like a secret sauce that you think goes into that? Like, are there sort of guiding principles as you think about your brand and how you present that on the consumer side? How do you work at that?
Make sure you have a clear thought of exactly what you want and what you're trying to portray before you do it. And plan ahead.
Is that like, is it difficult to stay on message?
Not necessarily message.
Okay.
What am I trying to say here? Not on message, but on, for instance, you have product, you know what that product is going to look like,
Okay.
what is involved in it. Everything. There's labels, there's packaging, there's bottles, there's the atomizers, there's, even if it's not for a fragrance, every little piece.
It sounds like how I'm interpreting that is you've kind of got to watch every detail, because every detail is a representation of who you are as the brand creator.
Yeah.
Okay, so attention to detail, folks. I mean, I think that's really what it is. I mean, down to the bottle, like that, just that one little decision can cause someone to think differently or some other way about the business.
A crooked label.
Yeah.
That looks poorly.
Or the color scheme, or all of those kinds of things. So
If you don't
attention to detail.
if you don't put out what you want to begin with and you change your mind, the consumer isn't going to appreciate it. They'll appreciate a solid product and brand.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk just a little bit about the future, if we could. Where's Rachel going from here? Is there the sort of, not the plan at which you'd be giving away any sort of secrets, but are there any upcoming projects or pivots you want to talk about?
Yes, there are.
Okay, cool. All right.
I actually wrote this down because I didn't want to butcher her name. I was going to meet with her yesterday, but I had a band thing.
That Rachel's going to sing for us a little bit later.
Christina Kubrin. So she is the founder of 352 Innovation, and she is one town over. We happen to cross paths on LinkedIn. And so 352 Innovation, I'm not exactly sure what the company is, but she's a mechanical engineer.
Interesting.
And she races motorcycles. She's can I swear?
Yeah, of course
She's
you
a
can.
badass.
She's a badass. Folks.
So
all right, cool.
I'm very excited to meet with her. So she came to me asking if I could recreate the scent of exhaust.
No way. This sounds super cool. Okay, let's get into this.
So I think her her business, which I do not know fully exactly what it is. I'll learn next week. But I believe she's a resource for auto shops transitioning from not working solely on the car with engine but with electric vehicles.
Okay.
So in her train of thought, she knows that one day there will not be exhaust.
So she wants to capture that.
Capture exhaust, so it can be something that is nostalgic.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that is, and it seems like a whole line of things that might disappear or whatever because of technology changes or whatever. Like, how do you capture that? And scent is a very strong sort of part of that, right? Of nostalgia. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Working with vehicles, I mean, I like working on cars. I like building. So meeting her is going to be a really fantastic time. But also probably lead into other ideas or projects that I have with working on vehicles and scent.
Yeah.
There's so many scenting tires, scenting
The leather seats, all kinds of things. Right?
I'm excited for that project.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, we might have to do a follow up. All right. So as we sort of conclude our discussion, I'm really interested. One of the things that we try to do, and we think this is a really important part of the business because so many of our listeners are other small business owners, and we don't often have the time, the chance to kind of like learn from each other. And I think everyone has a particular, something they've learned along the way, or maybe a mistake that they learn from, and try to avoid others from doing it. I wonder if you have some advice or reflections on your, entrepreneurial journey, what you've learned and what you'd want to share with others like yourself.
Yes, unfortunately, you need a solid business plan. And if you have a business partner, make sure it's a really good business partner that you trust, that they will be there with you, or a team. Having a team is very helpful because they're also somebody that you can lean on or bounce ideas off of, and it makes you not bored.
Yeah. And I suspect just others that you can kind of bounce ideas
Yeah.
off, sort of like what we were doing before the show started. We're walking around, like kind of feeding off of each other. Yeah, that can be incredibly valuable. And I really appreciate your comments on a partner. It's not one that really gets discussed, I think, enough, because it can be great in the beginning, but you can go down, strategies can be different,
Yeah.
or work styles can be different. It's not always rosy in the beginning or the end.
When I first started the company with the business partner, the general consensus was that we were not going to do wholesale accounts. And in hindsight, that's absolutely what we should have done.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, it's
here
a
I
big
am.
part of the business, right? Yeah, it's the profit side. All right. Well, Rachel, I'm so glad and grateful that you agreed to be on the show, and I'm just excited to be here and learn more and see your journey as it continues past here. And so, thanks so much for everything you shared with me today, and for having me here in your place of business. And I just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Of course. All right. Thanks, everyone. That's the show.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the episode with my guest, Rachel Latimer, owner and founder of DANE Fragrance in Ukiah, California. Now, over the last few years, I've commented a great deal on consumer and economic trends, predictions, etc., that impact small businesses. But I really appreciate Rachel's injection in our conversation that essentially got to the point, simply not following trends, that being your own authentic self in a way that drives your strategy is what's important. And that you have to believe in the direction, and there will be times when that might run counter to trend lines that are there. But that doesn't make it wrong or suggest that it can't be successful. Now, for someone like myself that follows and talks a lot about trends, it's certainly a lesson I'll take to heart, and will be sure to inject as I talk more in the future about various trend lines. So it's important when we talk about data that in some ways your mileage may vary. It's really context and nuance driven, and that's what makes entrepreneurship and Main Street small business so special, and I think unique, and not sort of homogeneous when it comes to the world of retail or services. So as we wrap up the show, if you are a business owner, and likewise to my place professional colleagues out there, I hope this episode has provided plenty of new insights, solutions, and inspiration. And as consumers, please continue to support your locals and small businesses and tell their stories. It's so important, I think, as consumers to really understand the importance of small business to our local and national economies. Most importantly, they promote and provide quality of living to the places we all call home. And don't forget to show your Main Street pride by checking out our Main Street swag at shopmainstreet.org, where we've started to run features on small-scale producers and brand creators bringing original products to Main Streets. As a reminder, check out our growing library of past podcast recordings and other related small business training and coaching webinars on our Main Street America YouTube channel. As always, thanks for listening. Please rate and review us, and be sure to subscribe and tell your family and friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Till next time, thanks for all the support.